Hello, great people. The presidency of Bola Tinubu and the Emir of Kano State, Sanusi Lamido Sanusi, have been in a war of words as regards state of the nation. At an event in Lagos, the Kano Emir made some remarks that the Tinubu government is failing and would most likely continue to fail. He then stated that he has what it takes for the government to succeed, but he's not going to give that secret to the government because the government has proven that they are not his friend. And the Tinubu presidency have responded that we don't need your suggestion. We are on top of the game. And of course, we will surprise you by making things happen in Nigeria and, of course, for Nigerians. In a moment, I'll leave you to hear from the Kano Emir. Then, when we come back, we'll be looking at the dynamics of the political traditional institution relation in Nigeria. We'll be looking at the federal government intervention in Kano politics. We'll be looking at politics and governance, the performance of the Tinubu presidency, the importance of Emir Lamido Sanusi, and of course, the dynamics of his emergence when he first became the Emir and the role Bola Tinubu play, and also patriotism in Nigeria. We'll be doing this and a whole lot more on this episode of Politing with Dr. Omoshola. First, let's hear from the Kano Emir before we come back for more discussion. Let's hear from him.
To be honest, I can stand here today and I can give a few points that are contrary, a few points that explain perhaps what we're going through and how it was totally predictable, most of it, and maybe avoidable. But I'm not going to do that. I've chosen not to speak about the economy and the reforms or to even explain anything because if I explain, it would help this government, and I don't want to help the government. I don't want to help this government. You know, they're my friends. If they don't behave like friends, I don't behave like a friend. So I watch them being stewed, and they don't even have people with credibility who can come and explain what they're doing. But I'm not going to help. I started out helping, but I'm not going to help. I'm not going to discuss it. Let them come and explain to Nigerians why the policies that are being pursued are being pursued. And meanwhile, I'm watching a very nice movie with popcorn in my hands. I'm watching them stew. But I will say one thing. What we are going through today is at least in part, not totally, at least in part, a necessary consequence of decades of irresponsible economic management.
There you have it. You just heard from Sanusi Lamido Sanusi, the Emir of Kano State. First, you see, I think that government has so much power in such a way that for you, one man, to think that government cannot succeed without you, to my mind, is overrating. Especially in a country like Nigeria, with so many professors of economics, masters of economics, advert trained economics, Nigeria has enough human resources to succeed. So for a Sanusi Lamido Sanusi to think that government cannot succeed without him, I think he's trying to overrate himself because government have a lot of resources at his disposal. Government can hire the best brains, the best economists. It's just unfortunate that in Nigeria, rather than for appointment to be based on merit, it's always based on your political leaning, your connection, your affiliation, who your godfather is, what your religion is, what your political party is. And that is why we are where we are today in terms of the level of development that it is distasteful in Nigeria. But naturally, any government at that, especially this Nigerian government, with the population and the level of intellectualism that Nigeria possesses, that I am aware of, for a Lamido Sanusi to think that the government of Bola Tinubu cannot succeed without him is him overrating himself. It is an overrating. So I will say first that the emir should stop overrating himself. Then the emir having something that he can use to help the government, and if failing to render such help, questions his patriotism and elder statesmanship, in the sense that most leaders, people that have occupied government position, they usually use the word patriotism. Even the Bola Tinubu usually use that word that, oh, be patriotic, be patriotic. Being patriotic is part of you being able to do what is necessary for your country, the best of your ability. So if you have something that can save your country, if you have something that can create succor for the millions of lives of Nigerians, but because the Tinubu presidency is not your friend, then you decide not to give them that particular code, then you yourself, you are not patriotic, and that questions your elder statesmanship. So Emir Lamido Sanusi should try to be patriotic, because it is some of these people that usually preach patriotism, especially coming from someone that has benefited immensely from the flawed Nigerian system, in the sense that Sanusi made it to become the CBN governor. He's a former CBN governor. It is not every Nigerian that have such opportunity. It is not every Northerner, not every Muslim that have such opportunity. So he has the opportunity to become the CBN governor of a country like Nigeria. That means that Nigeria has given to him, and he himself, within one of the constituencies of Nigeria, which is Kano State, he has become the Emir of Kano State. So in that kind of instance, if you have anything that can benefit the government, no matter how terrible, no matter how useless, no matter, the hatred that you have for the government, you are supposed to think ahead, to think about the people that will benefit from such policies, and give government any necessary suggestion that you can give the government. At least it will be on record for the sake of posterity that this government has given to me, then let me give out to this government. But Nigerian politicians and elders, they lack integrity in that regard. For instance, Rivers State made Wike whatever he is today. PDP made Wike whatever he is today. It is that same PDP that Wike is causing trouble in. It is that same Rivers State that the pro-Wike lawmakers are seeking to hold the allocation of the state. If you hold the allocation of a state, that means that you have taken the oxygen of the nostrils of that state, because that state will die a natural death, because no state can run without any form of finance. So you can see that some of these leaders, when you hear them be patriotic, oh, you are not patriotic, are they patriotic in the true sense of it? Now let us move to another dimension. The head of the presidency is Bola Tinubu. It is his presidency because he is the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Now let us look at the relationship between Tinubu and Emir Lamido Sanusi. Emir Lamido Sanusi have benefited immensely from Bola Tinubu. And I'll give you the story. When Sanusi was serving during the presidency of Goodluck Jonathan, and he fell out with the Jonathan faction, and Jonathan, orchestrated his removal from office. It was the Tinubus of this world that rallied round Sanusi at that time. It was the Tinubus that saved him. And from what was coming in from Kano State at that time, from the, what's on the street in Kano State, it was not Sanusi Lamido that was supposed to be the emir, but the Tinubu influenced Kwakwanso at that time, who was the governor of Kano State, to pick Lamido Sanusi in order to spite Jonathan. In other words, if not for the influence of the likes of Tinubu, the likes of Buhari, and this their APC caucus that were in opposition at that time, that influenced his emergence as emir, Sanusi would be an ordinary citizen today. He would not be the emir of Kano. So if you have benefited from the connection, from the sagacity, from the political machinery of Bola Ahmed Tinubu, now that the man is the president, even if you don't want to think about Nigerians, that, okay, if I have something that can save the government, if truly you have, but I don't want to say that I don't care if Nigeria die in hunger and hardship, that's fine. But how about paying a debt of gratitude to the man that influenced your appointment to the prestigious Emir of Kano throne? How about that? So if you look at it, no matter what has happened, there's still some level of ingrate in the attitude of the Emir of Kano State, Lamido Sanusi, because if not for the Tinubu and co, he wouldn't have been the Emir of Kano State today. And the truth is that any emir that's more political than traditional would end up being disgraced, in the sense that the emirship is a traditional position. It's just like the Oba in the southwest, the obeys the Ezes in the southeast. That is exactly how it is. If you are an emir, you are to protect the custom and tradition. That is what all these Oba Eze emirs are for. But if you now leave the protection of the culture and tradition of the Kano Emirate and you are dabbling into politics, with the same politics that removed you as Emir of Kano during the time of Abdullahi Ganduje, you are still dabbling into politics. Instead of you to the waka waka like this, you are not dabbling into politics. The truth is, if you decide to be more political than traditional, which is your constituency, you will end up being disgraced. That is the truth. So it will pay the Emir of Kano to learn from experience and try not to be political than traditional. If not, the Tinubu presidency will serve him hot, in the sense that Bola Ahmed Tinubu is the president. And you know that in Nigeria is an all-sin and no-sin country. And I've analyzed it for you before, that in Nigeria, if you are in the right clique, no matter what you do, nothing will be counted against you. You have not sinned. And if you fall out of clique, anything is a sin. If you walk this way, the government can use it against you. That is the way Nigeria is. It's an all-sin and no-sin country. Bola Ahmed Tinubu's boy, Yemi Cardoso, is the head of CBN. I won't be surprised tomorrow if you are being overly political and 2027 is approaching and you are being overly political. I won't be surprised if they go and dig out one file, rightly or wrongly. Before you know it, EFCC will tell you to come and be answering query and case. So that's why I said, as an emir, if you are too political than traditional, you would end up being disgraced. And that's why Emir Sanusi Lamido Sanusi needs to be very cautious and careful of what he's saying, because there will be consequences. The Tinubu boys, they are not that nice. They are not that nice when it comes to giving payback, especially anything that can influence them not to have the presidency, anything that can influence people against them not having the presidency again. They know that you should be sure that they will come for you. So you need to be very, very careful and just face your emirship, face your throne. And if you want to be political, maybe you should leave that emirship to him, because these Tinubu people, fear them, especially if you are occupying a position like an emir, because when they will hit you, it will be very, very serious. And the Tinubu presidency too, to try and do the right thing, because if we look at it, Sanusi has some point in the sense that he queries some of the policies and the timeliness of the actions of government. So when people criticize you, the presidency of Bola Ahmed Tinubu, don't be always quick to come for such people. Think, pick the good things that they have said, learn from it, work on it, discard the rest, so that at the end of the day, you can give Nigeria the safe, prosperous country that they so desire and desire. It's been an interesting time with you on this episode of Politin with Dr. Omoshola Deji. Dr. Deji is a political scientist with a PhD in political science, and this is where we relax to dissect politics and happenings in the polity. Do you want to subscribe? Turn on your notification button. Follow me on Facebook. Follow me on TikTok. See you in my next video. I love you all. Sincerely.